A rabbi taught me a secret method to free myself from debt and bad luck, simply by placing something special in my shoes. It is incredibly effective. Greetings to everyone who is seeking prosperity. The rabbi shared with me a powerful ritual, a tool that will open the doors to abundance in your financial situation. If you have been searching for a significant change in your economic life, you are in the right place. This ritual is not just a practice. It is a commitment to yourself to attract the wealth and well-being you deserve. Prepare yourself to apply this technique and free yourself from debt in just 24 hours. Let us begin this path toward prosperity together. Have you ever wished to leave debt behind and experience a fulfilled life? If so, this is the moment to take the first step toward making that dream a reality. Trust in your ability to transform your reality and say goodbye to scarcity. Write in the comments, "I manifest a financial miracle in my life." This declaration, filled with faith and conviction, is the key to opening the doors to abundance. Trust in the power of your words and visualize prosperity flowing into your life. Prepare yourself to witness an extraordinary change in your life. Embrace change, leave limitations behind, and allow the energy of abundance to flood you. Believe in yourself and in your ability to achieve your goals. This story begins several years ago. I found myself immersed in a spiral of debt that seemed endless. Each passing month, the bills piled up like layers of an invisible burden I carried on my shoulders. It wasn't just the lack of money, it was the feeling of being trapped in a cycle I couldn't escape. My credit cards were maxed out. Bank loans grew with suffocating interest, and every phone call was a reminder of my failure. My family felt the pressure. My children noticed the tension in every conversation, in every uncomfortable silence when we talked about future plans. The shame of not being able to provide what I once gave naturally consumed me from within. There were nights when I couldn't sleep, tossing and turning in bed while my mind calculated and recalculated numbers that never added up. Desperation had become my constant companion. It was as if a shadow followed me everywhere. Every attempt to move forward crashed into an invisible wall. I would get a job and lose it weeks later due to unexpected layoffs. I would start a small business, and circumstances would conspire against me. I borrowed money to pay off other loans, sinking deeper and deeper into a pit with no visible exit. Bad luck became so constant that I stopped believing in possibilities. I stopped believing in myself. My wife tried to remain hopeful, but I could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the worry she tried to hide. Our children stopped asking for things, as if they sensed that every request was another burden on my already broken shoulders. Health insurance was canceled. School tuition fell behind. We had to move to a smaller home, leaving behind not just a physical space, but pieces of our dignity. Every box I packed felt like packing fragments of shattered dreams. The pressure was not only financial, it was emotional, mental, spiritual. I felt like less of a man, less of a father, less of a human being. Guilt ate away at me. How had I gotten here? At what point had everything fallen apart so completely? I replayed every decision, every mistake, every missed opportunity, trying to find the exact moment where everything went wrong. But there wasn't just one moment. It was as if my entire life had become a maze with no exit. One day, in the middle of that darkness, a close friend told me about a rabbi who lived on the outskirts of the city. He wasn't an ordinary rabbi, he said. He was a man who guarded ancient knowledge, wisdom passed down through generations, methods known by very few people. My friend told me he himself had gone through hard times, and that this rabbi had taught him practices that changed his situation. At first, I doubted what an elderly, wise man could do for my financial problems. How could ancient words solve such concrete, urgent, overwhelming issues? But desperation has a way of opening doors that pride keeps closed. And at that moment, I had no pride left to protect. I just needed a way out. Any way out. So I decided to visit him. The journey to his house was long. I passed through streets I didn't know, neighborhoods where life seemed to move with a calm I had long forgotten. There were trees, gardens, well-kept spaces, people walking without haste. Everything seemed to belong to a different world, one where peace was still possible. When I finally arrived, I found a modest house surrounded by a small but carefully tended garden. The plants grew orderly, vibrant, full of life. There was something about that place that deeply contrasted with the chaos I carried inside. I knocked on the door with trembling hands, unsure of what to expect. The rabbi opened it. He was an elderly man with a white beard reaching his chest and deep wrinkles marking his face, but his eyes shone with a clarity that contrasted with the marks of time. He invited me in without asking anything. There was no judgment, no uncomfortable questions. It was as if he already knew why I was there, as if he could read the entire weight I carried just by looking at me. We sat in a simple living room, lit by the soft afternoon light coming through a window. There were ancient books on wooden shelves, simple objects carefully arranged, an atmosphere of stillness I hadn't felt in a long time. The rabbi prepared tea in silence and observed me for a few moments. His gaze was not invasive. It seemed to see beyond words. Then, in a calm voice, he asked what had brought me to his home. I told him everything. The debts suffocating me, the shame consuming me, the feeling of being cursed, of nothing I did ever working. I spoke without filters, letting years of frustration, pain, and helplessness pour out. I told him about sleepless nights, debt collectors' calls, my children's looks when I had to tell them we couldn't afford something simple. I told him how bad luck followed me like a shadow, how every step seemed to sink me deeper instead of lifting me out. He listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally, as if each word I spoke carried a precise weight in his understanding. When I finished, the rabbi remained silent for a moment that felt eternal. Then he spoke. His voice was firm yet gentle, and his words fell on me like fresh water on dry land. He told me that what I was experiencing was not just a financial crisis. It was a deep blockage, a disconnection from the natural flow of life, from the earth, from my own path, from the energy that sustains everything that exists. Debt, he explained, is not just numbers on paper. They are energetic burdens that bind us, prevent us from moving forward, and cling to us like invisible chains. And bad luck, he added, is often the result of walking without awareness, without connection to each step we take, without understanding that our feet are our direct contact with the world. He spoke to me about feet in a way no one ever had before. He said that our feet are our direct connection to the earth, to what supports us. They are the point of contact between our body and the world, between our inner energy and the universal energy that constantly flows around us. When we walk without awareness, dragging invisible burdens, our feet carry that weight. And that weight becomes blockage, stagnation, and recurring bad luck. He explained that ancient wisdom teaches that everything we carry on our feet directly influences our path, our destiny. Shoes are not just physical protection. They are symbols of direction, purpose, and intention. They are the vehicles that take us where we want to go, or keep us trapped in repetitive circles. He asked me if I had ever thought about the importance of my shoes, whether I had ever considered what energy they carried, what intention they held. I told him no, that I just wore them without thinking, that they were everyday objects with no deeper meaning. He smiled with understanding and said that this lack of awareness was part of the problem. Then he told me, "Here lies one of the most powerful keys to breaking the cycle of debt and bad luck." He taught me a method that, according to him, had been passed down through generations in his lineage. A simple but deeply powerful method that had helped countless people escape situations like mine. He said I would need only 3 elements that anyone has at home: water, salt, and a bay leaf. Simple, everyday elements, but when used with the correct intention, they become tools of deep transformation. He explained that the bay leaf is not an ordinary plant. Since ancient times, bay leaves have been recognized as symbols of victory, triumph, and overcoming adversity. Ancient sages used them not only as decoration, but as channels of powerful energy. Bay leaves, he said, have the ability to raise vibration, cut stagnant energies, and open paths that seem closed. Water, he continued, is the element of purification, the universal symbol of cleansing, renewal, and flow. Water does not stagnate unless forced to. By nature, it flows, adapts, finds its way. Using water in a ritual invokes that same quality of movement and cleansing. Salt, he added, is the element of protection and transmutation. Since time immemorial, salt has been used to neutralize negative energies, create protective barriers, and transform heaviness into something that can be released. He explained the ritual with precise detail. First, he said, "You must take a glass of water. It does not need to be a special glass. It can be any clean glass you have at home. Fill it with water and add a pinch of salt. As you do this, you must hold the glass between your hands and connect with the intention that this water will cleanse, purify, and neutralize all the negative energies surrounding you. Do not do it mechanically. Do it with full awareness, feeling how the salt dissolves in the water and how that mixture becomes charged with your intention." Then he instructed me to take a bay leaf. It can be a dry leaf like the ones used for cooking. It does not need to be fresh. What matters is that it is genuine bay leaf. Hold that leaf between your hands and visualize everything you desire. Visualize your debts dissolving. Visualize bad luck moving away from you. Visualize new opportunities opening before you. Feel how that bay leaf absorbs your intention, how it becomes charged with the energy of your deepest desires. Place the bay leaf next to the glass of water with salt. Leave them together for a few minutes, allowing the energies to mix and strengthen each other. Meanwhile, take your shoes. The shoes you wear every day, the ones that take you to work, the ones that take you to look for solutions, the ones that walk with you through this world. Those shoes need to be cleaned. They need to be freed from all the negative energy they have accumulated by walking through places of anguish, moments of desperation. With a clean cloth, dampened with the salt water, carefully clean your shoes. This is not about superficial cleaning. It is about cleaning them with the intention that all bad luck, All blocking energy, all the burden of debt they have carried dissolves and disappears. Clean every part of the shoe, especially the sole, which is what makes direct contact with the earth. As you clean, repeat mentally or softly out loud that you are cleansing everything old, everything that has kept you trapped, everything that has prevented you from moving forward. Once the shoes are clean, take the bay leaf charged with your intention and place it inside one of your shoes. It can be the right or the left shoe, whichever feels right to you. The bay leaf must be in contact with the inner sole of the shoe, where your foot will rest on it. That bay leaf then becomes your constant ally, a permanent reminder of your intention, a channel of energy that accompanies every step you take. The rabbi told me that this ritual must be done with faith. Not necessarily religious faith, but faith in the process. Trust that by performing this conscious act, you are activating forces beyond what is visible. He said that shoes, when carrying that bay leaf, become tools of transformation. Every time you wear them, you reinforce your intention to free yourself from debt and cut off bad luck. He explained that bay leaves have a specific vibrational frequency recognized by sages for thousands of years. When placed inside the shoes and walked with, that frequency remains active, creating an energetic field around you. It is as if every step you take is charged with the energy of victory, triumph, and overcoming obstacles that the bay leaf represents. Debt, he told me, is not only an external problem, it is a reflection of internal blockages, of patterns of thought and action that keep us trapped in repetitive cycles. By using bay leaf in your shoes, you are working on those patterns from the root, from the point of contact with the earth, with physical reality. The rabbi also spoke to me about the importance of walking with awareness once the bay leaf was in my shoes. He said that every step should be taken with the certainty that I was walking toward prosperity, leaving bad luck behind with each movement. It is not about walking differently, but about walking with the clear intention that you are in a process of transformation, that each step brings you closer to financial freedom and good fortune. He told me stories of people who had used this method, entire families on the brink of financial ruin who, after applying this ritual with faith and consistency, saw doors begin to open in unexpected ways. He spoke of a merchant who had lost everything during an economic crisis and who, after placing bay leaves in his shoes and walking with intention for days, received a business proposal that not only freed him from debt, but took him to a level of prosperity he had never imagined. He told me about a woman who had been trapped in credit card debt for years and who, after performing this ritual, found creative ways to generate income that she had never seen before. As if her eyes had been opened to possibilities that were always there, but which blocked energy had prevented her from seeing. The rabbi emphasized that this is not a magical ritual in the sense that it makes money appear out of nowhere. What it does is unblock, open paths, cleanse the energy that prevents opportunities from reaching you. It is like removing invisible obstacles that have been blocking the natural flow of abundance in your life. When those obstacles are removed, when those energetic chains are broken, life begins to flow differently. Opportunities appear, solutions present themselves, and money begins to move in your direction. He suggested that I keep the bay leaf in my shoes for at least 9 consecutive days. 9, he explained, is a number of completion, of closing cycles. During those 9 days, I was to walk with the awareness that I was in a process of transformation. Every morning, when putting on my shoes, I should remember the intention with which I had placed the bay leaf there. And every night, when taking off my shoes, I should give thanks for the steps taken, for the progress made, no matter how small. He also taught me that alongside the bay leaf ritual, I should work on my connection with the earth in other ways. He recommended that, if possible, I walk barefoot for a few minutes each day on soil, grass, or sand. This would help discharge accumulated negative energy and receive the renewing energy of the earth directly. He explained that we often carry static energy and tensions accumulated in our bodies as a result of stress, worry, and disconnection from nature. That energy creates blockages in our system. Walking barefoot on the earth allows that charge to be released naturally, restoring balance. He spoke about the importance of caring for the feet, honoring them, and treating them with respect. He suggested that at least once a week I massage my feet with oil or cream. This act, he said, is not just physical care. It is a symbolic act of respect for our own path, our own steps, the vehicle that carries us through life. By massaging the feet, we activate energy points connected to our entire body and all our organs. We are telling life through concrete actions that we value our journey and honor every step we take. The rabbi looked deeply at me and said something that burned itself into my memory. He said that debts are often the result of walking without direction, without clear intention, without connection to our purpose. We spend unconsciously, invest without thought, go into debt impulsively, often to fill emotional voids or follow patterns learned without questioning them. All of this reflects a lack of deep connection to our true path. By working with the feet, by placing bay leaf in the shoes, by walking with clear and conscious intention, we correct that pattern at the root. We tell life, the universe, the energy around us, that we choose to walk with purpose, clarity, and defined direction toward prosperity. I left that meeting with the rabbi feeling a mix of hope and skepticism. Part of me wanted to believe deeply, but another part, the part beaten so many times by life, doubted. How could something so simple solve such complex problems? How could a plant leaf change such a devastating financial situation? But my desperation was stronger than my doubt. I had nothing to lose and possibly everything to gain. I decided to perform the ritual exactly as he had taught me. That same night, when I arrived home, I waited until everyone was asleep. I needed that moment of silence and intimacy with myself. I prepared the glass of water, added the salt carefully, held the glass between my hands, and closed my eyes. For the first time in a long while, I did not think about debt numbers or collectors' calls. I connected only with the pure intention of freeing myself, breaking the chains, and opening a new path. I felt the water in my hands become charged with that intention, as if something invisible but real was happening. I took a bay leaf from the kitchen pantry. It was a dry, wrinkled leaf, like the ones my wife used for cooking. I held it in my hands, and following the rabbi's instructions, visualized everything I desired. I visualized my family smiling without worry. I visualized collection letters ceasing to arrive. I visualized new opportunities opening before me. I felt how that simple, everyday leaf became something more. A symbol of my desire for change, of my decision to break the cycle. I placed the bay leaf next to the glass of salt water. Then I took my shoes, the worn-out shoes that had taken me to so many places of frustration, to debt collection offices, to banks where loans were denied, through streets where I sought work and found none. I looked at them, feeling a mixture of sadness and determination. I dampened a cloth in the salt water and began cleaning them. It was not merely physical cleaning. With each pass of the cloth, I felt as though I were clearing layers of bad luck, accumulated frustration, and heavy energy clinging to every fiber. I carefully cleaned each shoe, especially the soles, which had made direct contact with the earth during so many difficult moments. While cleaning, I mentally repeated that I was releasing all that was old, all that had kept me trapped, all that had prevented me from seeing opportunities. I felt something strange, a kind of relief, as if I were actually removing invisible weight. Once the shoes were clean, I took the bay leaf and placed it inside the right shoe, in the inner sole, right where my foot would rest on it. As I did this, I felt a commitment to myself. It was like making a silent pact that every step I would take from that moment on would be a step toward freedom, toward prosperity, toward a different life. The next day, putting on my shoes, I felt something different. It wasn't just the physical presence of the bay leaf under my foot. It was the intention with which I had prepared them, the ritual I had performed, the awareness with which I now wore them. Every step I took felt different, not heavy but purposeful. I walked with more attention than ever. I was conscious of every movement, every contact of my foot with the ground. And though it is difficult to explain, I felt something inside me beginning to move, to release, to free itself. The first days brought subtle external changes. There were no dramatic transformations in my immediate financial situation. Debt collectors still called. Debts were still there. Red numbers still appeared on my statements. But something inside me was changing profoundly. I felt lighter, less trapped in the desperation and anxiety that had constantly accompanied me. That sense of chest tightening that woke me in the early hours began to diminish. I slept better. My thoughts were clearer, less chaotic. There was a new calm I could not explain, but it was definitely present. Gradually, external signs began to appear. Small things at first. A friend offered me freelance work. It wasn't much money, but it was something. And it arrived unexpectedly. A client who had owed me money for months, whom I had already given up on, suddenly appeared and paid without me having to insist or remind them. They explained that they had had problems, but were now able to settle the debt. Small but clear signs that something was changing, that the flow was beginning to move. I continued using the bay leaf in my shoes, walking consciously every day. I also began walking barefoot a few minutes each morning in the small garden of our home. Feeling the earth directly under my feet became a sacred moment of the day. It was as if I were discharging all the accumulated weight, all the negative energy I had carried for years, and at the same time receiving something from the earth, a renewing force, an energy that made me feel more grounded, more present, more alive. I also started massaging my feet weekly, as the rabbi had suggested. At first it felt strange, almost uncomfortable. I wasn't used to giving myself that kind of attention and care, but with each massage, I felt that I was honoring my path in a new way. It was an act of respect for myself, my body, the feet that sustained and carried me day after day. As I massaged, I thought of all the places my feet had walked, all the steps they had taken, even during the darkest moments. After a week, something bigger happened. I received a call from a company where I had sent my resume months earlier. I didn't even remember applying. They offered me an interview. I went wearing my shoes, now carrying the bay leaf under my right foot. During the interview, I felt different, more confident, more centered, more connected to my own abilities. I spoke clearly, without the desperation that had once colored every word. To my surprise, they offered me the position on the spot. It wasn't an extraordinary job, but it was stable, with a decent salary that would allow me to start organizing my debts in a manageable way. I revisited the rabbi after completing the 9 days he had recommended for maintaining the ritual. When I arrived at his house, he greeted me with that same wise smile, as if he already knew what I was going to share. I sat before him and told him everything I had experienced, the subtle changes at first, the inner calm I had found, the opportunities that had begun to appear, the new job. I told him that although my debts were still substantial, I now felt I had a path, a direction, a real possibility to climb out of the pit. He listened attentively and nodded with satisfaction. He told me that what I had experienced was exactly what the ritual was designed to do. It was not instant magic that solved everything overnight. It was a tool to unblock, to cut patterns, to open paths that had been closed. He explained that the bay leaf had done its work of raising my vibration, connecting me to the energy of victory and triumph I needed. The water and salt had cleansed stagnant energies, and my willingness, faith, and consistency in walking consciously had activated the entire process. He recommended that even though the initial 9 days were complete, I could continue using the bay leaf in my shoes. I could replace it occasionally, especially when I felt I needed to renew the energy, when things felt stagnant again, or when facing difficult moments. He said the bay leaf could become a constant ally, not just for debts, but for any aspect of life where I needed to open paths, where I needed the energy of victory. He also taught me that now that paths were opening, I had to walk them responsibly and consciously. The bay leaf had done its part of unblocking, but now I had to do mine. Make wise decisions, manage money consciously, and not fall back into the patterns that had led me to this situation. He spoke about the importance of being mindful of every expense, every income, every financial decision. He said money is moving energy, and if we want it to flow toward us, we must treat it with respect and awareness. He especially spoke about gratitude. He said that every time I received money, even a little, I should give deep thanks. That gratitude opens doors to receive more. It is like telling the universe that you recognize abundance when it arrives, that you value it, and that you are ready to receive more. And every time I spent money, I should do so with the conscious intention that it fulfills its purpose and returns multiplied. Not out of greed, but from trust in the natural flow of abundance. The following months were of profound transformation. With the new job, I could start organizing debts. I negotiated with some creditors, established payment plans I could actually follow. Money began to flow in ways that had previously seemed blocked. Additional jobs appeared, small projects that added extra income. A relative I hadn't seen for years contacted me and offered a business opportunity that turned out to be very beneficial. These were things that perhaps had always been possible, but my blocked energy and vibration of despair and bad luck had prevented me from seeing or attracting them. The bad luck that I felt had been following me also began to fade noticeably. Things that previously went wrong systematically now flowed more easily. Not because everything became perfect, the challenges of life remained. But I was more present, more conscious, more connected with my own power to create my reality. And that connection made all the difference. I could see opportunities where I once saw only obstacles. I could find solutions where I once saw only problems. My family also noticed the deep change. Tension at home decreased considerably. My wife smiled again with the light in her eyes that she had lost during difficult years. My children began asking for things again, not because we had overflowing abundance, but because they sensed hope, a future. Things were improving. Conversations about the future were no longer filled with anxiety and fear, and although challenges still existed, facing them felt completely different. I felt stronger, more capable, more in control of my own life and destiny. The rabbi had taught me something that went far beyond a simple ritual with a plant leaf. He had taught me to walk consciously, to honor each step, to connect with the earth and with the energy that sustains us all. He had taught me that debts and bad luck are not external punishments imposed by forces beyond us, but reflections of our own internal state, our blockages, our disconnection, and that by changing that internal state, clearing those blockages and reconnecting with our power, the external reality also changes in ways that sometimes seem miraculous, but are in reality the natural result of aligning with the flow of life. The bay leaf in my shoes became much more than an object. It became a powerful symbol of my transformation, of my decision to break the cycle, of my commitment to myself and my prosperity. Every time I felt that leaf under my foot while walking, I was not just remembering the ritual. I was reaffirming my intention. I was reconnecting with that energy of victory the bay leaf represents. I was telling myself that I deserve prosperity, that I deserve abundance, that I deserve to walk free from debt and bad luck. There were moments in the following months when things became difficult again. Unexpected expenses arose or opportunities didn't materialize as I had hoped. In those moments, instead of falling back into despair as before, I recalled the rabbi's teachings, renewed the bay leaf in my shoes, walked barefoot on the earth to discharge tension, massaged my feet with gratitude, and most importantly, remained aware that I was on a path of transformation, that obstacles were temporary, and that the flow continued moving in my favor. Almost a year had passed since that first visit to the rabbi. The largest debts were paid off. Some were still being paid, but in an organized and manageable way. My financial situation had changed radically. But more important than the numbers in the bank accounts was the internal change I had experienced. I no longer lived in constant anxiety. I no longer felt that bad luck was chasing me. I had regained confidence in myself, in my ability to create, to generate, to prosper. My relationship with money had completely transformed. I no longer saw it as an elusive enemy that always slipped away, nor as something that controlled and dominated me. I now saw it as energy, as a tool, as something that flows naturally when there is clarity, when there is awareness, when there is connection with purpose. I learned to manage it better, to spend it consciously, to save without fear, to invest wisely. One day I visited the rabbi again, not because I had problems, but because I wanted to thank him and share everything I had achieved. When I arrived, he welcomed me as always, with that wise smile and those bright eyes that seemed to see beyond appearances. I told him about all the transformations, the debts that had been cleared, the opportunities that had arrived, the inner peace I had found, how my family had regained joy. He listened carefully and then said something I will never forget. He told me that the bay leaf had been just a tool, a catalyst, but that the true power had always been within me. The ritual had served to awaken it, to activate it, to remind me of my own ability to create my reality. He said that now that I had experienced this transformation, my responsibility was to remain aware, to continue walking with intention, to continue honoring every step, staying connected to the earth and to the energy of life. He also said that if I ever met someone going through situations similar to what I had experienced, I should share this knowledge, that these ancient teachings were not meant to be kept secret, but to be transmitted, to help others find their own path to liberation and prosperity. He told me that by sharing, I would be multiplying my own abundance, because the energy of giving is the same energy as receiving. That is why, he said, subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you continue receiving these ancestral teachings that free burdens, organize your life, and open real paths toward the prosperity you deserve.